So
yeah. Hi everyone. We're live. It's very great to welcome our panelists tonight. So today we're going to be speaking about working in Web3, getting a job in Web3, what it takes to get a job, and how is it to work in Web3. And for this purpose, we have 4 amazing people that are working in Web3 in very, very different, different basically companies with different, they have different skills, they have different backgrounds. And we will hear from everyone speaking about their experience and they're giving their advice on how to get a job in Web3. So maybe we'll start with a short introduction round. I am Maria, and I'm the founder of Ecolens. We're a training and recruitment platform for everyone that wants to start a job in Web3. We offer different training programs for specific blockchain professions, such as content creators, community managers, developers. And then during this training, we connect you already with companies that can recruit you. I would like to start by giving the word to Jocelyn to introduce herself, and to tell us what she's doing in the Web3 space.
Thank you. Hi, Maria. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jocelyn. I am a marketer. I am a marketing, media, and brand specialist with global experience and expertise across the complete marketing mix. I've spent my career working both on the brand side, so in-house, as well as on the agency side. And I shifted my career to focus on Web3 a little over a year ago.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Amazing. Mona, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mona. I'm a venture capital investor for Web3 startups. I'm based in London, but the fund I work for is called Tokentus, based out of Frankfurt. We focus mainly on kind of financial services, Web3 infrastructure, but slowly starting to be more infrastructure in general. And I'm very excited to be here and chat to you guys today.
Thank you, Mona. It's amazing to have you. So next, we have someone joining in from a different continent. So Brian, please introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah. Hi there. I'm Brian from Peru. I'm a communicator. I'm full crypto time advocate. So I'm part of Being Crypto as journalist, also brand ambassador. I have also some experience in crypto startups. I have my own startup that is still in process. So yeah, this world is almost full for me. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Brian. It's nice to have you. And then we have Oliver, also a startup founder. Please, Oliver, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Oliver, and I'm co-founder and CEO of basenode.io, and our startup enables freelancers, especially in emerging markets, to get paid in stable coins or in other crypto tokens. So yeah, we have some experience in paying people in crypto in the Web3 space. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Oliver. Thanks all for being here tonight. And let's kick off the discussion with one of the most important questions: storytelling about how you got into blockchain. How did you kick off your career in the blockchain space? Who wants to go first? Maybe Jocelyn. Maybe we use the same.
Happy to go first. So I started my career in the blockchain space a little over a year ago. I discovered cryptocurrencies sometime last year and was looking into how to invest in cryptocurrencies. And then I realized that in order to be a good investor, I needed to understand what I was investing in. So that's how I started educating myself and found out that there wasn't that cryptocurrencies were only the tip of the iceberg, and that the whole infrastructure behind it, like blockchain technology, the whole Web3 industry was something that was totally fascinating. And that's when I decided that I wanted to shift my career to the space. So being a marketing expert and not having any, I would say, financial background, but having a strong marketing background, I decided that the best way forward would be to reach out to recruitment agencies, recruiters, headhunters, because I saw that, I mean, we were in the middle of a bull market, so there were lots of jobs, but I felt like from my level of expertise or from my level, it was easier to reach out to experts who would, you know, connect me with the right companies that were looking with people, that were looking for people with my profile. So that's how I found my first job, reached out to headhunters, introduced myself, said, hey, I want to work in the space. I've never worked in this space. I'm learning, but I am a good marketer. And yeah, that's how I landed my first job.
I think that's so great that you didn't have, you weren't fearing going into this new industry, which is like a lot of people perceive as so complicated technology-wise. And that you just reach out to headhunters and had the confidence to say, here I am, I'm a good marketing expert and I want a job in the blockchain space. So
it's a very good point that you're making. I think one of the things that really helped me overcome any kind of fear of, you know, not having the right background was that I quickly realized that this space was being built. I always smile when people introduce themselves as experts because I don't know of any real experts in this space. We're all students, we're all learning, and that's what makes us all equal. So maybe you're not an expert in this space, but you have the curiosity and the will to educate yourself about the space, and it's still being shaped. So that's how I positioned myself, and yeah, everyone I spoke to agreed on that.
great. Mona, tell us about your story. How did you get into blockchain?
Well, so my very first contact was in 2013. I was at university, it was my final year, and I was organizing conferences for students, and they were about different topics, and the last topic was about Bitcoin. And I actually got two brothers in from London, from a family office, who were already Bitcoin enthusiasts, to talk to the students of St. Andrews University about Bitcoin, together, of course, with a group of co-organizers. And I didn't do the gazillions by investing lots of money in Bitcoin back then, but I started to believe in the concept and the idea. But then, you know, normal life swallowed me up. I became a consultant. I did startups in the Web2 space. But then I did an MBA, and during the MBA, I kind of had time to reflect and go back and think about what is actually really interesting for me. What do I believe in? What industry portrays values that I can truly stand behind? And I was working in education technology, I was working in food technology, I was working in fintech, I was working in consultancy for mainly TMT. And I have to say, really the blockchain space or Web3 space and what it can enable was what was the answer to that question. And so I then really got into the space by mainly networking, honestly. So I was speaking to a lot of people, reaching out to every network I had, alumni network, LinkedIn network, DLT Talents Network, or DeFi Talents Network, which is a course you can do on through the Frankfurt Business School, all kinds of different things. And then spoke to a lot of people, started working at Nuri in Berlin, and then yeah, really went to conferences, talked to people, went to events, took the courage and said, okay, I'm just going to awkwardly stand there and then just like tap someone on the shoulder or join a random conversation, be like, hi, I'm Mona, I'm really interested in blockchain. And eventually that spiraled into job opportunities and just learning opportunities, which then gave me more confidence, which then spiraled into job opportunities.
Yeah, what you're saying about going to events, going to conferences, just talking to people, this is super important in this space. You know, in the Web2 world, I've been to a lot of career fairs, and it's actually super difficult to get a job there. And it's so like you go there with your CV and you give it and say, oh, I'm really interested to work for you. And then no one calls you. But at the blockchain conferences is so different. It's a different vibe. So it's a cool idea. It's a good idea to get a job from a blockchain conference. Okay, Brian, how did you get into the blockchain space?
Well, I always liked the technology, so I was a big fan of technology and startups, but I didn't know the way to introduce myself into this world since I was in technician or something that I thought was required for it. So I started as a trader and it came like a bit crazy and was fun. So I turned myself into a good trader. But when I found what was I trading, I discovered much than that. So I started to learn about financial privileges for some different countries, and I saw like a huge gap of difference and a huge opportunity to make this difference more closer with crypto and blockchain. So I decided to like not trade too much and learn much from the technology. So I learned about IOTA and some other projects like Bitcoin, and I really like it. So since in Peru, at least there was no community, at least no one that I knew, no events or things like that. I started with some friends. So with some friends made a small group that now is a kind of huge community. And this community helped us to seek new opportunities. Now we connect with almost everybody here and most part of Latin. So the opportunities always come when you start to build your own. You just don't need some spaces. If you don't have a space, I would suggest to make your own. You will get surprised with the things that you will get. And then I found an opportunity of a job that they were seeking a communicator, journalist, and all this crypto stuff in Peru. So I take the opportunity and join Being Crypto and learn a lot. Being Crypto, it's an awesome place. And also I'm getting deeper in involving in this world with the Digital Euro Association as well. So now studying a lot. That's my road.
This is awesome what you're saying. If there is no space, create your own space. This is so amazing. And it's also inspiring to hear that you looked around, there was no one, and you decided, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And basically you're a first mover, right? We can say this, that you're a first mover in the Peruvian crypto scene.
Yeah, because there was no role model or some friends involved. At least when I started, I didn't know no one. But then things happen. Now we have tons of communities, and I'm glad to that. When we went DevCon like some weeks ago, there we were like almost 50 Peruvians, so it was crazy. Things are growing so fast here.
Amazing, great. Oliver, tell us, how did you get into blockchain?
Yeah, so my first touch point when I first heard about Bitcoin or blockchain in general was back in 2012, so super early, but I had a very brief look into it. It was like in an online forum or something. I was a very nerdy kid on the computer all the time. But then I was like, okay, this is a scam. I'm not going to give it any more attention. And then for years, I didn't do anything with blockchain. But then back in 2016, by the end of 2016, I was giving it another try and had a deeper look into it. And I realized, oh, yeah, there's something more to it than just, you know, getting rich or, you know, some kind of scam coin. But then, yeah, I finished my studies, studied industrial engineering. Doesn't really relate to blockchain at all, but yeah. After I finished that, I started working at university, but I always was like, okay, I want to be my own boss and I want to work in the blockchain space full time, but how do I do it? You know, I have this secure job at the university that my mom is very happy about I have, but I actually want to be more on an adventure. So I started going to co-working spaces whenever I had the time. That was in Hamburg in Germany back then in 2018, 2019, hanging around at co-working spaces without even having a startup or something to work on really. And then, yeah, sooner or later by the coffee machine, I got to know some people. And yeah, a couple of months later, we actually decided that we want to found our first startup that was an e-learning platform for banks to bring them more blockchain knowledge. So that didn't really fly back then, but I learned a lot of lessons, and the company is actually still around too, but I'm not there anymore. And then I had another try. I was like, okay, now I have enough knowledge to do it again. And like 1.5 years ago, I went to Blockchain Founders Group, and this is one of the biggest blockchain accelerators here in Germany. And there I started my current startup, BaseNode. And this is how I got to work in the Web3 space, yeah, and how I got into blockchain.
This is super cool that you actually went to co-working spaces without working there. You just went there.
I mean, I took my laptop with me. I was like, you know,
pretending to work.
It seemed like I was working.
Hi guys, I'm a startup founder.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Very cool, very cool, Oliver. It's a very cool story. And actually that you're now a second time founder. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks for sharing your stories with us. Now, what in your opinion are the hottest jobs in blockchain right now? Maybe Mona, because Mona, you work with a lot of startups, right? So you have this view from the perspective of many different companies.
I mean, it's maybe an unpopular answer, but developers are always wanted, needed. They're always scarce resources. If you are interested in Web3 development, if you are interested in becoming a developer or are a developer, I think you are a hot commodity because a lot of startups are born. And a lot of startups are growing. Of course, also some are dying, sadly. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot more demand for good developers than there is supply. So that's the obvious answer. I think we all would have probably said. Another big thing that I see a lot is compliance and regulation. Experts in understanding legal landscapes, compliance landscapes, who are interested in that space, who are also willing to be a bridge, a communication bridge between institution, between regulators, and crypto startups or blockchain startups are also really scarce. And if you are working in that space or that is something that you're interested in, I think there is a huge amount of demand and very good job opportunities with relation to those areas. But then, I mean, also, of course, community management, I think, is another big part that I don't think requires maybe necessarily a specific degree. I think it's more for a natural skill set and interest. Because I believe that the Web3 space is based on community, it's based on collaboration, it's based on sharing, it's based on becoming kind of following the same goal in a certain way, and being able to manage your community, grow your community, engage your community is a really, really, really important aspect in order to be a successful Web3 startup, in my opinion. Therefore, if you are also a people person, a community person, more that maybe rather than a developer or a legal and compliance expert, then I think there's a lot of scope for that as well. And I'm just going to start with what I would say are the 3 hottest topics. But in general, I don't want to discourage anyone because I, for example, have none of these skills, nor really interest, to be honest. And I didn't have any financial services skill set either, right? Nor am I super, super, super techie or a long-term, I don't know, gamer or whatever, right? I became a venture capital investor for blockchain technology because I love this and I like what I do, and I was willing to upskill myself with online courses, talking to people, reading, trying out, losing and winning, you know, playing the game. And I think no matter what you want to do, you can achieve it in this space, no matter which background you have. So I just don't want to be discouraging by just mentioning those three roles.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very good advice, that no matter your background, no matter what you have studied, actually there's place for everyone in the blockchain space. And honestly, from my experience right now at EcoLens, because we ask our community, the people we train, we ask them, what's your educational background? And if I have to be honest with you, people that just have a high school diploma, they are so good. They could be amazing developers. They could be amazing community managers. So you don't even need a university education, in my opinion. So you just need the will and the desire to work in this space, to really love working in this space, to be successful and get a job. So Jocelyn, you're in the marketing space. Tell us, is marketing something that is currently companies are currently looking for in Web3?
Totally, yeah. So my background is in marketing, and what I see is, like Mona just said, Web3 is about community, and community is at the core of everything. I think when or while we were still in a bull market, you know, community management was more about entertaining your community and, you know, making sure everyone was happy and engaged and, you know, still loyal to your project. What I'm seeing right now is that, you know, companies or startups are starting to realize that there is more to that than, you know, everything that has to do with traditional marketing, the fundamentals that people used to say didn't apply to Web3. People are not realizing in this bear market that they are actually very important. So my perspective on things is that marketing is still or is definitely one of the main disciplines that that startups are looking for right now. I get approached for a lot of opportunities, especially on the strategic level, because while in a bull market it wasn't so relevant to have a plan, now it is extremely important to have a plan, to have a strategy, depending on what channels you're using and what audiences you're talking to. So to answer your question, I would say the three hot jobs from my perspective, of course, developers. I mean, this is tech. It's still like, we're never gonna, you know, do without developers. I think if you're a developer, if you have a technical background, that's super important. I think products, everyone that has a product background is also very, very much sought after right now. Because as I said, in the bull market, people were just launching the project, and now they're realizing that there needs to be some strategy behind the product as well. And then the last one would be marketing. So everything that revolves around marketing, whether you're a creative person, you know, a designer, a writer, technical writers, like I get tons of messages on LinkedIn or Twitter every day from people asking me whether I can connect them with technical writers. So if you're good at writing, that's definitely something that I would recommend to upskill on, because writing is super key in this space.
Yeah, you mentioned writing. So we have really this job of technical writing, where we need people that have developer skills background and experience to do technical writing. But we also have the content creation part, which is also extremely important. And this is also, in my opinion, a very hot job in the blockchain space. And Brian, you're working in this space. Can you tell me from your experience, like it being crypto, do you have enough journalists? Are there enough people applying for this job? How's the quality of the content creators in the market overall? What can you tell us about this job?
Yeah, for writing, there's a huge opportunity, because when you are Web2, or maybe you are not into something, but you have skills, you can prove yourself creating your own content and make your own kind of CV, you know, because this world is not normal, and that's why it's awesome, because since this philosophy of the new administrations or the new enterprises are evolution to something more decentralized, they require more people. So there is not the traditional writer. Now people can express their opinions, and if their opinions have some huge background, you can just turn yourself into a power asset writer, for say something, because it's not about just write, it's about also write and make interest, seek for a narrative. You know, it's kind of close to marketing, but also a new way to communicate. It's the new communicators, I would say. So when you are really crypto advocate, this is the best opportunity for me. Beside developers, because everybody knows that for technology we need to create, we also need to communicate, and that is the biggest issue in this world, because we use too much the word blockchain, the word Web3, and we are not supposed to make all the people know that what they are using. My goal at the end is make the people use it, no matter if they know what they are using it. And communicate that is one of the hardest things, but also one of the things that anybody can do. So you just have to have some patience. And what helps a lot, at least on being crypto, is have a really nice editor. You could be maybe average writer, but with so passion that your narrative is pretty cool, you can be boosted by your editor. So there are a ton of opportunities, and I'm sure that being crypto is not just the only one, because there are so many news media that have some editors. So maybe an amateur writer could have the chance to improve their skills learning while writing and also working. So yeah, it's a big opportunity, right? Also, there are some spaces like PublishShocks. That was a page when I started to make my own content. You could earn some money, some crypto, your first crypto assets just for write. And there are so many projects, I think, that they pay you to write. Also, if you are super advocate, you could join as ambassador. Ambassador, I will say that it's one of the biggest stores also, and you could test yourself. And sometimes you can do it for free, and then the community recognize your value and they suggest you. There, I know so many stories from so different brand ambassadors like Avalanche, like Polkadot, that they started just sharing value. These were always pays you when you share value or seek value beside money. Money comes always. So for me, that was the road, and I would suggest anybody who is seeking for job, just focus on what you like or what you love and create something around it. It not has to be super technical. You could also add your opinion, and you will see that your opinion is also valued.
Yeah, definitely, Brian. Thanks for your thanks for your input and your experience about this. And Oliver, you're a startup founder, and as a startup founder, you have to hire people, right? And you probably know also other startup founders. What do you think a startup's currently looking for? What kind of professionals, what kind of jobs are there? Do they want to fill?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we started with Basenode in the beginning of the year, and back then it was like still kind of close to the all-time high of the bull market. So it was a sentiment where everyone was looking for Web3 employees. And we created our team of like 8 or 9 people. Now it's a little bit smaller because we, of course, now we're in a bear market, but bear markets are for building. So I can definitely agree with Mona that developers are still very very thought after. But back then it doesn't work like in a Web2 world. You know, in a Web2 world, you write your application to a company, then they tell you, here are your benefits, this is your salary, welcome to the team, right? But we hired developers. We were like, of course, just a very small startup in the beginning, and we were building up the team. And some developers, so they were coming to us. They were like, okay, so you want me as a senior dev, but I like your project and the salary is fine, but I don't want to be the smartest guy in the team. So no. So, and then we're like, okay, but how do you someone needs to be the smartest guy in the team, right? I mean, so that was a challenge, and I don't know if it's still like that, but back then the developers especially could just pick the projects they wanted to work in, and yeah, they had all the options in the world. I think now it's maybe a little bit less like that, but still they're very sought after. And another topic that already yeah, Brian mentioned too is like the creative part, like, you know, copywriting, for example, is a big part, because every company needs to do some SEO articles and push their content out there. And marketing especially, as Joycelyn mentioned. So when it comes to marketing, it's also kind of, it works different than in the traditional world, because the crypto space is full of open people, but they do have their own language. Yeah, so they have a lot of abbreviations like NGMI or HODL or all that stuff. And if you just let some trainee that doesn't really know about all this language into your comment section below one of your company posts, then people will realize, oh, okay, maybe they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe their product is also not very good. So you have to be careful, and you need someone who really understands the language of this, I don't want to call it bubble, of this space. Yeah. So this is a challenge, yeah, when it comes to writing articles, as well as yeah, commenting posts, or in general creating content for marketing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we spoke about the hottest jobs, but now how do people actually build the skill to work these jobs? And because we don't have developers here, let's not talk about developers, but let's talk about, let's say, marketers. How does a marketer build the skills to work in blockchain?
Sorry, trying to unmute myself. Good question. So I think I mentioned at the beginning that we're all students. This space is still being built, and I think that applies very strongly to marketing. I have worked for over 12 years, my entire career in marketing, and I'm speaking to people who have even more experience in marketing, are in the space, and they're still trying to make sense out of this space. So I'm not going to tell you this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. I think what's very important is to stay informed about the discussions that are going on, because there's a lot of, trial and error. People are still experimenting. I think Brian and Oliver mentioned that, copywriting was very important. I think storytelling is very important. And to get back to what Oliver just said, I don't totally agree with what you say, because indeed, I think it's important to be a Web3 native in order to, start in the space. However, what I'm seeing, and from the conversations that I'm having with startups as well, is that everyone is asking the question, okay, so how do we bring Web3 to mass adoption? Like, how do we bring this space to, the wider audience beyond our small microcosm that we all love and are happy to be in? And I think that starts by the way you talk about things. So if you use language that people don't understand, if you use jargon or cultural codes that make people feel like they're not part of the space, then you're going to lose them. So I don't have the answer to that question, but I would say that, it's a matter of bridging the gap between the OGs, like the Web3 natives, but also making it accessible for people who would be interested, but still don't understand what this space is about. So how do you build the skills? Well, stay connected with people, networking, go to events. One of the things I do personally quite a lot is LinkedIn and Twitter. I try to connect with people who have my background, so marketers in this space. I reach out to CMOs of smaller companies or bigger companies, asking them to have a virtual chat just to, have their take on the state of marketing. Like, what do you think marketing is? What do you think we should be doing more? What do you think we should be doing less? Reading, I'm also constantly analyzing what I see others doing. So whether it's the content that they're sharing, the way that they're engaging their communities. We've now hopefully come out of the pandemic, and we're seeing events, start again, not only the big conferences, But on a local level, all those meetups that are starting to take place again, I'm based in Berlin. I go to 3 or 4 meetups every week to different topics, whether it's, you know, the metaverse or NFTs, or I went to one yesterday about DAOs. So it's very, very different. And I don't necessarily go there to learn about the topic itself, but also to see, okay, how do you engage a community? Like, is it about the drinks that you're offering, the guests that you're inviting, the topics that you're covering? So all those things. Be curious, keep an eye open on, you know, everything that's happening on the space, and apply it to the project that you're working on, and yeah, see what works and what doesn't. That's what I would recommend to do.
Thank you, Jocelyn. And I would like to ask Brian, because Brian, you said you started basically with trading, but now you're a journalist. How did you make the shift, and how did you build the skill to start writing? Because honestly, I also don't have a background in writing, and I've written a couple of articles, but it's super difficult for me. Like, I don't really know how to structure it. I'm not a professional. So tell me, how do you build up the skill to become a blockchain content creator?
Well, I always like share my vision of some projects, but to really get involved in some projects, I always knew that I need to read. So I always, like, for me, it was a daily routine, read a new paper of a new project every day. So for me, it was first year, every day, no matter which hour it is, I had to read a new project. So I start to learn a lot of new projects, a lot of new ideas, because I always wanted to make a project also. So I have some projects like developing also with a small team, but that when I was like read charts, it's also a way to read something and how this tech is doing, or how the world is reacting to it. So it's not just about the price, but it's just about how they are managing their develop. So for me, it was two kind of reads: the technology as itself, and also how they are doing it. So both are for the same side, but people sometimes think that when you read price, you are not thinking in technology. But the real thing is, if some big project is not sustainable in time, you will see that into the charts. So for me, it was just two parts for the same side, and they are super complement. Maybe price not means value, but value always catch the price in a point, or price catch the value as you want to see. So to do like good trades, you have to read it. It's always, and when you read it, you always want to give your opinion. And when the more you read, the more your opinion is valuable. So you get able to write. And also, I learn a lot because my editor is pretty awesome. He's a machine. Whenever I send something, he always gives me back some feedback and say, hey, you can take this, and this. So you start to get better, you start to get faster. And that's how you keep improving your skill. But also, I started a blog, so I had to write my own stuff, made a plan. So that's how my writing skills improved a lot, like just like writing. If somebody wants to write, I will suggest like start a plan, maybe just focus on one thing or one project, and just start some articles. Maybe the first ones are not too good, but you will get better the more you write.
Yeah, so basically learning by doing. That's a very good advice. Thanks, Brian. So now, because we're coming to the end of the panel discussion, let's take some questions from the audience. We have some already that came in. Maybe, and each of you can say who wants to answer this question. What courses, programs do you recommend to get started with?
I can answer that one. So there are a lot of resources out there. I can only talk about the ones that helped me. So I think Mona and yourself, Maria, you took the DLT Talents course, which is a course for female leaders. But I would say if you're very, very new to the space, the course that helped me the most was the Unit Masters course. by Unit Networks. It's a self-learning program as well. It's very short, 6 weeks. It's free of charge as well. And I think that really gives you a good understanding of the basics. And if you want to dive deeper, then there are other resources there. But I think Unit Masters was an amazing course. I really enjoyed the DLT talent course. I feel like when I joined that program, my level of knowledge was maybe already too far. But what I'm realizing with another course from the Frankfurt School right now, the DeFi Talents course, which I just started, is that when you don't know much about the topic, then the course is very, very helpful. So DeFi Talents is what I'm doing right now, extremely helpful to get a better understanding of the decentralized finance space. DLT Talents. I also have another course on my list, which is about token engineering. There's a company called the Token Engineering Academy, and they have a course about token engineering, which is also free of charge. So there's a lot of resources out there, and yeah, those are the ones I would recommend.
Mona, do you have anything that you can add?
Yeah, I mean, I did the same courses as Jocelyn's, so all of them pretty much. So I think it's a very German thing because they're very hardly or prominently advertised in Germany within the German network. But I do think that there are people from all over the world joining those courses, and they're free and they're relatively good, well structured. So I think definitely worth having a look into, and great network as well that comes with them. I also educate myself a lot with the Coin Bureau YouTube channel. I looked at a lot of the videos. I actually think it's very helpful. I think it's done very well. It's done very entertaining. And I've learned quite a lot about it. I also looked at, Coursera or Udemy courses for some deeper dive topics, things like what is a ZK rollup, or how does a smart contract work, or even how does a DeFi protocol work? What is a liquidity pool? Things like that, which are super, super important for me, or were very important for me to be able to get a job in investing. I did specific courses for free on these, university, a lot of them like Stanford courses, Oxford course, whatever, all these free courses on Coursera, Udemy, etc. And I think they were also very useful because they're vetted due to being an academically proven course. They're still free, or most of them are free, and they can be a bit more of a deep dive into the topics that are important for you. Or in general, I do think that people should be able to at least understand the basic technological concept that is, powering the blockchain technology. And sometimes I think some terms are kind of overlooked or not really deep dived into because they seem scary or too technical or too financy. But then doing 1 or 2 deep dive courses, you actually feel so much smarter, and it's actually so empowering. So I would just suggest to look a bit deeper, dive a bit deeper, and think about what is important or interesting to you, rather than kind of staying on a surface level with the high level courses and thinking you now get it, and then someone asks you, but how does that actually work when an institution wants to use the blockchain technology? And you're like, an institution? I was just thinking about DAOs, and what's again a DAO? And does that actually work with an institution? And then you start losing it because you never actually really understood the underlying blockchain technology concept.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for this. Oliver, do you have any other programs that you've learned from and you can recommend?
So I have a learning tip, but it's not a program. So first of all these programs, I can really recommend them too. I have friends that joined the DeFi Talents program and DLT Talents from Frankfurt School. So really nice. But for me, I'm not really the person to sit in a program. So what I can recommend you doing, instead of, for example, going out to a restaurant and spend 20 euros on a pizza, you can take this 20 euros and just go to a decentralized exchange or try yield farming, or just For example, download a MetaMask wallet, switch the 20 euros to Ether or Binance Chain, BNB, pick a token. Doesn't really matter. You will learn. So then you go on a platform and you just try yield farming or try decentralized exchange, try a swap. The worst thing that could happen is you lose 20 euros and had 1 hour of fun and learning. But because when you start, for example, really putting a little bit of your money, what you can afford to lose, of course, into one of these decentralized apps, and you suddenly realize, wow, this is amazing. I can make money and I can watch it grow. I mean, of course, it's just like cents and it doesn't really matter, but the feeling is addicting, and you naturally dive into, you will use Google so much. You will be like, okay, what is yield farming? How do I get this? And why is this not working? And this is actually how I learned the most, just by trying it out. And you can't really go wrong. I mean, the worst can happen, you lose a tiny bit of money that you would have spent otherwise anyway. So this is my advice.
Yeah, that's a really, really good advice. Again, learning by doing. Like Brian said, with writing the articles, I can totally agree with you. This was also the way that I learned. And normally you lose money because you don't know how it works, right? But then when you lose the money, you're also like, okay, what did I do wrong? And what should I have done and how to do it next time? So this is how you learn. So totally, Oliver. So we have a couple of questions for Brian, actually. How do we start on becoming an ambassador? Because you're an ambassador, so maybe you can share some experience with that.
Yeah, for sure. It depends if you're ambassador of media or maybe a project of crypto. They always give you like these guidelines of what means to be ambassador for this. But if you want to be ambassador, you must to stay connected with all the communities in your country or your place. So for do that, you must to go events or at least join them virtually. And that also it's a nice way to learn because there are so many people that always want to give or share knowledge. And in that way, you learn a lot because you, in some direct or indirect way, you get a mentor. And with a mentor or master, as you want to call it, you learn like 10 times faster. And they also always give you some tips like, hey, do this or join this. So for being ambassador, communication is one of the most essential skills to say something. Not just write, but talk and stay connected. Make some social links with the people and always know how to empower people, because when you represent a brand, it's not just to say, hey, I'm this brand. You must to be able to share whatever the brand it has. Like maybe if it has news, you must to stay aware of all the news or all the new stuff. And what is the objective of the brand? For example, on Being Crypto, we want to share not just news but also educational content. So I must to be able to explain anything or at least the basics of fundamentals of blockchain to anyone, and also know where is the potential of some communities, because also in Being Crypto, what we do, some media partners, so we are able to connect one maybe small community with huge potential to maybe some projects. So we make them grow and they also give us news, but in a good way, you know. Since we gave them a big door, they are able to grow, and that is a new, and because they are sharing value, that's how all things start to grow. And that's the nicest thing of Being Crypto for me, it's that it's a big bridge. Since we are in Latin America, we can share the news of some project and connect them with maybe some investors because they read our news, or maybe with some different developers or talents that they got attracted to it. So yeah, basically it's being able to connect for being an ambassador.
Thank you, Brian. And one more question to you is, how can someone that wants to write content in the blockchain space get paid? So what are the opportunities to get paid for content creation?
Yeah, there are a lot, and depends how you start doing. When you are just alone by yourself, you can seek different platforms that pay you in crypto. Also, you can see different projects like Polkadot that always pays you for contribute. So you must to check what they need. And also you can do some stuff that it's called freemium, like maybe give a shift to a white paper. Maybe you can earn nothing, but if you do this to 10 or for say something 5 white papers, you have a huge chance to make them notice your skills. And I know so many stories from people that do this and got involved in deep projects. It's like they got part of the team, so it's not just an article. So if you want to do like get in something deeper and get something bigger than just write an article, you can do start some things like very proactive, but some maybe large things like a white paper, it's very huge paid. And if you just want to do articles, you can start to learn some SEO, like the most attractive words in crypto. You have so many tools like Learn or Crash, and you can test how much engagement is in some words or some projects. And you can also make an article of some project. Maybe this coin is trending, so I have to write something about it. Or maybe this term like inflation or something is trending, so you can write about it and get noticed. And if you know maybe a bit more, you can make your own page, you can make some ads and stuff, and you can always deliver some traffic there. And that's how there are so many revenues when you write that I could spend 1 hour talking about it.
Yeah, I'm sure, because also in the blockchain space, there's the so-called gig economy. So there are so many jobs for like short-term jobs. So for basically writing a piece of content, like an article or a Twitter thread or a white paper, as you said, a lot of companies will just pay you for this, yeah, for this piece of content. So it's a great opportunity for many people to not have like a full-time job and full employment somewhere, but like work for multiple companies and projects. So yeah, our time is unfortunately up of this panel discussion. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your experience and your tips on how to start a job in the crypto space and how to upskill. Yeah, how to work in this space and be happy and have fun, which I think is the most important thing. Yeah, thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks for everyone who was watching our live session on YouTube. Bye, everyone.